I should have known better. But for one perfect, stupid moment, I let myself believe it. That the music, the streamers, the cake, the decorations, everything was for me. That my family, who had forgotten my birthday 3 years in a row once because my sister Amanda had a migraine, had finally remembered I existed. I saw the lights, the guests, and even the way people clapped when I walked in. I almost laughed like I was living in a movie. For a full 3 seconds, I lived in a fantasy where I was the favorite child. Then I saw the banner. Huge gold letters stretched across the fireplace. "Congratulations, Amanda." The applause doubled when my sister strutted into the room like it was her wedding day. Tight white dress cap and gown over one arm, phone already out for selfies. She squealed, "Oh my God, you guys, I'm going to cry." But of course she didn't. Amanda never cries unless there's a camera or cash involved. I stood off to the side, still holding the gift bag I had bought for myself, and asked my mom calmly if they had meant to do this on my birthday. She looked confused, then guilty, then annoyed. "Well, she said we thought we'd celebrate both." "You don't like attention anyway, right?" My dad chimed in helpfully from the couch. "We ordered your favorite cake. See, we didn't forget." A cake with Amanda's face on it, gold frosting, spelling her name, screaming, "Congratulations!" Amanda finally noticed me. "Oh, hey," she said, air kissing my cheek. "We can share the party unless that makes you feel weird." She added casually, "Hope you don't mind, we kind of used your credit card for the cake. It was just easier." That's when my smile cracked. I pulled out my phone and checked my banking app. There it was, a $900 catering charge, a $500 venue deposit, a $200 floral order, with the note, "For Amanda's big day." Shame burned in my throat. I didn't argue. I didn't make a scene. I just walked out. Someone asked where I was going. Amanda rolled her eyes. "Are you seriously leaving? Don't be dramatic." But I wasn't being dramatic. I was done. They thought I'd sulk and get over it. What I actually did was file a police report. Amanda had been this way all her life. The first time I realized she could get away with anything, I was 8 and she was 6. She stole a $20 bill from Mom's purse. I found it hidden in her Barbie dream house. When I told our parents, Amanda burst into tears and pointed at me. "He made me do it." I was grounded for 2 weeks. She got ice cream because she was distressed. That set the tone. If I got a B+, my parents said next time aim higher. If Amanda got a C-, they said she's doing her best. She cracked my laptop, took money borrowed without asking. My parents called it love. When Amanda wanted to study abroad in Italy, they drained the emergency fund. When I needed help repairing my car to get to work, I was told to budget better. I paid my way through college with 2 jobs and ramen noodles. Amanda had tuition allowance and vacations. I told myself I was the older brother supposed to sacrifice. But the sacrifices never ended. The final straw before the party was the medical emergency. She called late one night sobbing. She needed $1,800 for a specialist, said not to tell Mom and Dad. I wired it instantly. Weeks later, I saw her Instagram yoga by the Beach Crystal Therapy, a luxury villa in Tulum. When I confronted her, she blinked. I was having an emotional crisis. "You don't understand." My parents said, "Let it go, Oliver." Amanda's sensitive. So when I saw those charges for her graduation party on my birthday, I knew it wasn't an accident. It was the pattern perfected. That night, my mom texted, "You embarrassed Amanda by leaving. You made everything about you again." I scrolled through Amanda's posts, photos of her smiling by the cake I paid for. Caption, "So grateful for my amazing family." No mention of me, no birthday, nothing. The hurt froze into anger. Not fiery, but focused. I gathered receipts, credit card statements, invoices with Amanda's name, and email the rental contract she signed. Even old texts where she'd asked me not to make a big deal about my birthday. proof it wasn't a misunderstanding, it was intentional. I put it all in a folder, walked into the police station, and handed it over. For the first time in my life, I wasn't cleaning up her mess. I was drawing a line. 2 weeks later, my phone rang before sunrise, that old ringtone, tunneling through sleep, until the fourth call pushed me upright. I answered, because some part of me still believed catastrophe meant I should run. Amanda's voice came ragged and breathless, saying she was at the police station, and there was a fraud report with my name on it, and what had I done to her? I stared at the dark ceiling and said I'd filed a report because she had used my card without permission. She began to cry in the way that used to rearrange the room around her, saying it was a party for both of us, and Mom said it was fine, and was I really doing this to my own sister? I asked if she had asked me. She said I hadn't said no. The silence that followed felt like standing in the doorway of our childhood kitchen, the linoleum cool beneath my feet, while a 6-year-old performed sorrow and an 8-year-old swallowed anger. I told her to answer the officer's questions truthfully. She choked on the word truth like it was a foreign object and hung up. By noon, my mother's messages were rolling in a scroll of disappointment dressed as love. You've gone too far. Amanda is devastated. This will follow her for years. My father's voicemail arrived an hour later, that careful, reasonable tone he reserves for lectures about civic duty and family reputation. Son, this isn't how we handle things. We keep it inside the family. We don't involve strangers. Not once did he say the word theft. Not once did either of them ask me if I was okay. My aunt, who forgets my birthday with religious consistency, sent a paragraph about how lawsuits destroy blood ties. She preferred the word misunderstanding. I put my phone face down and washed dishes I had already washed, not to clean them, but because the hot water gave my hands something to do, other than text replies I would regret. That evening, someone buzzed my apartment. I knew it was Amanda before the intercom crackled with her voice, because there was a certain static that always rode in with her, an electrical pressure like a storm building. When I opened the door, her mascara had smudged from crying and then been cleaned away and then reapplied. She'd always been a meticulous editor of her own disasters. She said she wasn't here to fight. She just needed me to drop the report because her job offer was on hold, and this could affect travel and background checks and the entire trajectory of her life. I told her that what affected the trajectory of her life was the moment she photographed my card, the moment she typed the numbers into a field and clicked submit without a text and ask a courtesy. She said I was punishing her. I said I was stopping her. She accused me of jealousy so confidently that I almost checked the mirror to see if I was wearing envy like a shirt. I told her I had no interest in a life that needed constant rescue. For a breath, we stood in that narrow hallway, while our childhood scripts bumped into each other, each line looking for the cue that used to come. I did not give it. I said I hoped she would take the deal if it was offered, and closed the door softly so the latch caught like a period at the end of a long sentence. The officer called me 2 days later to confirm a few details and to let me know they had offered her a path that would keep a record of her future if she repaid every charge, completed community service, and took a financial accountability course. His voice was steady, free of judgment, the kind of ordinary civility that feels like medicine after a household where feelings were either inflated, like parade balloons, or flattened like receipts. I thanked him. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of my bed and thought about how many times I had given Amanda a private version of that same offer. I'll help you if you tell the truth, if you stop taking what isn't yours, if you learn. How many times I had said yes without any if. How often my forgiveness had been the softest jail. Amanda refused the deal at first because humiliation registers on her skin the way heat does on metal. She posted a long note about betrayal and tagged the entire family tree without using my name, the digital equivalent of whispering my identity in a crowded room. The comments filled with hearts and cliches. Some cousin I barely know wrote that family should lift you, not cut your wings. I put my phone in a drawer and went for a walk, where nobody knew anything about me other than the way I stepped aside to let a stroller pass, and thanked the barista for handing me a lid. When I came back, there was an email from my boss forwarding an anonymous message from someone claiming to be concerned about my emotional stability. My boss added one dry line, "Let me know who to block." I wrote back, "My sister. Please block my sister." I laughed when I hit send, and then felt the shake beneath the laugh, a small fault line releasing. My mother arrived at my office uninvited, her heels tapping through the lobby with the rhythm of verdicts. She said I had humiliated Amanda, that one party did not deserve a legal scorched earth. I told her it wasn't about a party. It was about a decade of using me as a backup plan and an ATM and a background character. She reminded me of childhood groceries, of strep throats and new sneakers. I reminded her of the down payment I had gifted them 5 years ago, of the months I covered utilities while they caught up, of the holidays I hosted and cleaned and paid for, while Amanda posted gratitude to the universe. She said that was my choice. I agreed. It had been a choice born of love and habit and fear, and the belief that endurance would eventually be recognized as loyalty. I told her I was making a different choice now. She left with a look that said I had betrayed the family code. I went back upstairs and answered emails until the steadiness returned to my hands. The marketing firm withdrew Amanda's offer. Pride got lighter when unemployment got heavier. She accepted the deal at last, and even her penitent hours carried a gloss selfie from the community center with a caption about growth, a story about giving back, accompanied by a curated playlist. I did not comment. The first repayment hit my account with a note that read, "Not because you deserve it," and the second with no note at all. I took both as evidence of life moving in a direction where rain was rain and not a romance. Some nights I lay awake and rehearsed the old argument with ghosts. Maybe I could have handled it privately. Maybe if I had explained it differently. Maybe if I had swallowed one more time. Then I would remember standing under the glittering banner on my birthday, the decades of small silences that built a house with no room for me, and the relief that had walked me out of that party and into a station where the officer offered me water and a chair and a form and the dignity of being believed. I would fall asleep in that chair, in my head, hands open, not grabbing for anyone, not offering what had not been asked for, learning the quiet shape of a boundary that would hold. Amanda's apology came 3 weeks later, delivered over speakerphone in a group call my parents arranged like a hostage negotiation. My mom's voice was syrupy with forced sweetness as she said, "We just want to talk, Oliver. We're family." My dad stayed quiet at first, his silence heavy like a courtroom gavel waiting to fall. Amanda sniffled theatrically, then finally said, "I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean to hurt you." The words were flat, as if recited by a child forced to say sorry for shoving someone on the playground. "What exactly are you sorry for?" I asked, because apologies without clarity are just noise. Another pause. Then, in a small voice, "For taking your card without asking." "That's not what happened," I said. "You didn't just take without asking, you stole. You lied. You tried to make me feel guilty for wanting boundaries. There's a difference." The silence stretched so long, I could hear my own pulse. Finally, my dad's voice cut in, cool and clipped. "You've made your point. So what now? Are you going to disown us? Is that what this is?" "No," I said. "I'm just done pretending this is normal." And I ended the call. No screaming, no dramatic hang-up, just a click that sounded like a door finally closing. For the first time, I felt a strange clarity. I didn't need them to agree with me. I didn't need them to change. I only needed to stop shrinking myself to fit inside their version of love. I began untying the knots that had bound me to their chaos. I removed Amanda from shared delivery apps, updated my accounts, closed every door she had once pried open. I even canceled the last card still linked to my parents' address. Meanwhile, Amanda posted curated growth updates, online pictures of her sweeping a community center floor, with captions about resilience, a moody black and white selfie tagged Wamwam Healing, Malum Rebirth. She told the world she was learning from hardship, never mentioning whose hardship she had created. Friends and relatives ate up, commenting with prayers and heart emojis. I stayed silent, screenshots saved in case they ever forgot who had paid for her spotlight. Months passed, and the noise quieted. My parents called less frequently, their guilt trips morphing into distant sighs. My aunt still sent veiled barbs about forgiveness wrapped in Bible verses. I ignored them all. For the first time in decades, my phone stayed silent, and the silence felt like a gift. In that space, I began noticing parts of myself I had buried under obligation. I applied for a promotion at work, something I had hesitated to do before, because I was always on call for family emergencies. When the offer came with a relocation package, I said yes without hesitation. I moved 2 states away to a city where no one introduced me as Amanda's brother. I found a small apartment with a balcony that overlooked the skyline. On quiet evenings, I sat out there with a cup of tea, the city humming like a new language, and I let myself imagine a life that was mine alone. For my first birthday after the move, I took the day off work. No decorations, no family expectations. I bought myself a small cake from a bakery down the street, white frosting with no name piped on it, no banner strung across the wall. I lit a candle, sang softly to myself, and laughed at how strange it felt to be free. I didn't make a wish, because the thing I used to wish for, that my family would finally see me, was no longer something I needed from them. I had given it to myself. A week later, Amanda sent me a message. It was short, almost jarringly so. "You win. I hope you're proud of yourself." But I wasn't proud. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't keeping score. What I felt was relief. Relief that for once, I hadn't bent until I broke. Relief that I'd chosen myself. Relief that the cycle had cracked. Still, I knew Amanda well enough to recognize that defeat wasn't the end. A cornered Amanda wasn't just sad, she was dangerous. And she wasn't done yet. 3 days after that last message, the storm I had been waiting for arrived in heels. My mom showed up unannounced at my office, striding past the receptionist as though she owned the place. When I came down to meet her in the lobby, she looked me up and down, with eyes that carried equal parts fury and disappointment. "I raised you better than this," she snapped before I could even say hello. Her words cracked like a whip. We stepped outside, and the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the pavement. She launched into accusations how I had humiliated Amanda, how her career prospects were now in ruins, how family was supposed to protect one another. I stood there, listening quietly, until she paused to catch her breath. "Do you understand what this means? Her whole career could be ruined," she spat. "Yes," I said evenly. "That's usually what happens when you commit fraud." Her face hardened. She wasn't ashamed, she was furious. "You're doing this out of spite over one party. One night?" I almost laughed. It's never been about one night. It's about years of being treated like a wallet instead of a son. It's about birthdays, erased money, stolen sacrifices ignored. You want to count receipts? Let's do it. 5th grade sneakers versus the down payment I gave you for your house. School lunches versus the utilities I covered for 2 years. Which balance sheet do you want to look at? "That was your choice," she said sharply. We never asked you to help. And that was the truth in its own way. They never asked because they assumed. Because I was dependable. Because Amanda was delicate. Because I had been trained to believe love meant swallowing my pride and opening my wallet. I shook my head. No more, I told her. If Amanda has any sense left, she'll take the deal. If not, she'll learn the hard way. I turned and walked back inside, leaving her glaring in the sunlight, arms crossed, heels clicking in furious rhythm against the concrete. But Amanda wasn't done. 2 days later, she fired her next shot on social media. A long, vague post about betrayal, about how some people will stab you in the back just to feel taller. She didn't use my name, but she tagged every cousin, every aunt, even grandma. The comments poured in like clockwork. Stay strong. Family should protect you. You're so brave. I didn't reply, but I screenshotted every line. The next morning, I woke to 5 missed calls from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Only one message cut through the noise, a simple DM from my cousin Laya, who knew the truth. They're drowning. Don't throw them a life raft. Amanda's spiral deepened. She emailed my boss, pretending to be a concerned family friend, warning that I might be unstable and lashing out. Luckily, my boss had little tolerance for drama. She forwarded me the email with a single line. Let me know if I should block anyone. I stared at the screen, torn between laughing and shaking. Amanda wasn't just panicking, she was dragging anyone she could find into the whirlpool with her. Block Amanda, I wrote back. She's going through a full-time identity crisis. My boss replied with a thumbs-up emoji. The investigation pressed forward. The officer told me Amanda's digital fingerprints were all over the charges, the card details typed, manually invoices sent to her, email contracts signed in her name. They offered her a deal: pay everything back, complete 100 hours of community service, take a financial accountability workshop. In exchange, no permanent record. It was honestly merciful. But Amanda refused. She said it was humiliating. She said it would make her look guilty. The officer's response was simple. You are guilty. Word spread to the marketing firm that had been considering her application. The offer evaporated overnight. No dream career, no glamorous launchpad. Just Amanda in her old bedroom throwing tantrums between phone calls to lawyers she couldn't afford. For once, my parents didn't bail her out. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe they wouldn't. Either way, their calls became sharper, more desperate. Are you happy now? My mom screamed one night. Her future is ruined. I was never trying to ruin her future, I said quietly. I was trying to protect mine, but they didn't hear me. They never did. 3 months later, the storm had thinned to drizzle. Amanda had finally accepted the officer's offer: repayment in full, 100 hours of community service, a financial accountability workshop. Pride bent only when the weight of lost opportunities crushed her. The first transfer hit my account with the bitter note, not because you deserve it. The second came silently. She posted curated updates about her growth, selfies with brooms in community halls, captions about resilience. Friends showered her with praise. To them, she was a phoenix rising. To me, she was still the same girl who had stolen my birthday cake and my credit card, but at least for once, she was sweeping up her own mess. I didn't gloat. I didn't feel proud. What I felt was lighter. The constant hum of being Amanda's safety net had gone quiet. I had space in my mind for things I'd abandoned: ambition, hobbies, peace. I said yes to a promotion at work and relocated to another city 2 states away. For the first time in my life, I was Oliver, not Amanda's brother. My apartment was small but sunlit, with a balcony that overlooked the city lights, like sparks scattered across velvet. I built a new routine: coffee shops, where the barista knew my name, trivia nights with neighbors, evenings spent reading without waiting for a crisis call. My first birthday after the move, I took a half day off, bought myself a simple cake from a local bakery, lit a single candle, and sang softly in my kitchen. No decorations, no guilt, no banner with someone else's name. I didn't make a wish. I didn't need to. I already had what I used to beg for proof I mattered given to myself. My parents remained distant. Occasional texts from my mom about the cat. A Christmas card from my aunt with a scribbled note about forgiveness. My dad's voice once on voicemail, weary and clipped, telling me family was forever. But forever, I realized, didn't mean forever on their terms. Forever didn't mean being bled dry. Forever didn't mean silence in the face of theft. One evening, as the city murmured outside my window, Amanda messaged again. "Saw you moved. Hope things are good. Could use someone to talk to." I stared at the words. A year ago, I would have answered instantly, rushing to be the savior. But now, I sipped my tea, turned off my phone, and stepped onto the balcony. The night air wrapped around me soft and alive, and I understood that empathy did not mean access. I could care about her without opening the door again. People often assume the lesson is that justice triumphed, that Amanda learned that my parents woke up. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But the real lesson was smaller and sharper. Love without boundaries corrodes both sides. It teaches the taker that other people aren't real, and the giver that they themselves don't matter. Consequences are not cruelty. They are a form of faith. I didn't file that report to ruin my sister. I filed it because decades of rescue had convinced her she would never fall. And falling, painful as it was the only teacher left. I don't know who Amanda will become in 5 years. I hope she builds something honest. As for me, I know exactly who I am, becoming the man who finally stopped auditioning for a family role that hurt him, the man who wrote himself a new script. So if you've ever sat at a table where the cake had someone else's name, if you've ever been erased in the service of another's spotlight, hear me. Leaving quietly can be louder than any speech. Drawing a boundary can be the first act of love you give yourself. If my family calls that selfish, I can live with it. In fact, I'm finally living because of it. If this story resonated with you, please like this video so it can reach others. Share it with someone who needs courage to set their own boundaries. Subscribe for more true life stories and comment with the moment you realized you were done shrinking to fit someone else's version of family.